Chapter 15, Odd Jobs. When we landed in Seattle, my Uncle Ricky said that the bus depot called and had my luggage. Wonderful. We headed to downtown Seattle the next day to retrieve my traveling luggage. It had made it all the way to San Francisco without me. Renton Community College is right next to the cemetery that Bruce Lee was buried in. My Uncle Ricky had found an apartment to rent right across the college. I always thought going by that area was creepy. My job was to start in 2 months at NOAA. I just watched television and ate food until I couldn't watch another episode. The closer it got to start my job, my Uncle Ricky decided to head back to Alaska. What? I wasn't. One of the employees talked with her mother, who lived alone, about my situation and invited me to stay for 6 months. Awesome. I was to give her $100 a month to help out with the electricity and save the rest of my money to move into my own place. I did nothing but go to work and go home for 6 months. I had no experience in the electrical field, so they paired me with an ET to recalibrate wind and rain gauges throughout the Seattle area. Every airport had these wind and rain gauges, and every day we headed out to one of these airports. Road trips. We had went to one of the city airports where an Air Force jet was warming up to take off. Very loud. All of a sudden, he hit the gas and he took off so fast up into the sky until we could not see him anymore. As a fighter jet flew past us, we could feel the sound waves go through us. Incredible. One of the other electronic technicians decided we were having too much fun. The next trip he was going to take me up through the pass to the top of the mountain. Near the top of the mountain, the road ended, and we had to take a four-wheeler the rest of the way to the research center where they recorded the snow levels. When we got closer, I noticed that all the buildings were connected by lines, so when there was a blizzard, they could still get back to the main building. When we were heading back to the big city, we stopped at a gas station, and I bought myself a large Coke slushie. I was so lost in frozen land. When I looked up, we were on a floating bridge. Wow, it was weird to drive on. My job at NOAA ended when the fair was in town next to mine. I decided to go to the fair as a treat for myself. When I got there, they had a sign that they were hiring. I signed up right then. The woman asked if I could work right now. I filled out my tax papers and was given a work shirt. Out the door I went. I had to run a booth that had huge stuffed M&Ms as the prize. I had so much fun handing out huge M&Ms. Funny thing, my childhood friend Andrea with her new husband had went through the fair and we never run into each other. Maybe I was on break. On the last night, there was a Kenny Rogers concert and I went to see him. He was so funny. I got to hear my favorite songs, and he had a wonderful voice. I felt so lucky to see him in concert. Awesome. The next day, we were packing up the fair rides and games when the supervisor asked if I wanted to run away with the fair. A week later, I got a call from my Aunt Stephanie saying that my friend Andrea lived nearby in Tacoma. I was so excited to know and be able to see people I knew. I lived by myself now for 4 months. 2 weeks later, my Aunt Stephanie and her family showed up to stay until they secured a place. There were people in my apartment and making noise. Wonderful. Within a month, she said she had secured a place in the next town. Awesome. At this point, I still did not find another job, and my savings was slowly dwindling down to nothing. Then out of nowhere, I got a job selling acrylic flowers out of one of the carts in the middle of the mall. Awesome. I had a great time selling fake flowers and learned how to use my salesmanship skills. They had a couple of carts in different malls around the Seattle area. I worked at the one in Tacoma Mall to help out with the Christmas crowds. I worked right next to the art that if you looked at it a certain way, you could see another picture inside the picture. It took me 2 months of working next to this guy, and I finally seen the picture inside the picture. Very interesting art. I did not think of looking at it that way. Spring was approaching with anticipation in the air of a new season. It felt great. My friend Andreas said that they were going to drive the Alcan Highway to Anchorage as soon as the weather allowed them to leave. A couple weeks later, I was talking to my dad, and he said that he could enroll me in an electrical class in the vocational school in Seward, Alaska. I said yes, but I still had a couple of months left on my lease. I told my dad about Andrea driving to Anchorage soon. He said if I could get to Anchorage in 3 weeks, he would enroll me. This is when he said I needed to do a midnight move. Not sure what a midnight move was, so I called my friend and said I needed to do a midnight move. They said they would be right there and showed up with an empty van ready. Apparently a midnight move is when you pack as much of your stuff into a van and drive out the back. We packed up my queen-size bed with all my other apartment stuff and sold it for the drive up the Alcan Highway. $600.